Ambassador Jake Morrison stood at the viewing window of his shuttle, watching the massive station grow larger against the backdrop of space. The structure was ancient, built by civilizations that had mastered the stars while humans were still learning to make fire. He turned to his aide, Lisa Park, who was reviewing diplomatic protocols on her tablet. "Nervous?" she asked without looking up. Jake smiled, though his hands were clenched behind his back. "This is humanity's first formal introduction to the Galactic Council," he said. "We've been in limited contact for 20 years. But this is different. This makes it official." Commander Ben Hayes, their military advisor, joined them at the window. 47 species in that chamber," Ben said, his voice low and measured. "Some of them have been traveling the stars for millions of years, and here we are. The new kids trying to prove we belong." The shuttle docked with a soft thud, and the airlock cycled open. The station's interior was breathtaking corridors that seemed to bend through impossible angles. Lighting that shifted through colors humans had never seen before, and gravity that felt slightly wrong, as if the station couldn't quite decide what normal should be. Crystalline being waited for them at the entrance, its body refracting light into rainbow patterns that danced across the walls. "Ambassador Morrison," the being said in perfect English, though its voice sounded like wind chimes. "I am Council Speaker Vorth of the Calithian Empire. Welcome to Caverish Prime Station." Jake bowed slightly, the gesture they had practiced for weeks. "Thank you, Speaker Vorth," he replied. "Humanity is honored to be here." Vorth led them through the winding corridors toward the council chamber, and Lisa whispered observations into her recording device, noting architectural details and cultural markers. Ben's eyes never stopped moving, his military training making him catalog every exit and potential threat. The council chamber was enormous, a circular room with seating arranged in tiers that rose toward a domed ceiling. Representatives from dozens of species filled the seats, some humanoid, others completely alien. Beings of energy and crystal and forms that defied easy description, but Jake noticed something immediately. One entire section of seats sat empty, marked with symbols that glowed with a faint, pulsing light. He leaned toward Vorth. "Those empty seats," Jake said quietly. "Which delegation is missing?" Vorth's crystalline body dimmed slightly, and an uncomfortable silence spread through the chamber like ripples on water. "Those seats belong to the eldest," Vorth said finally, his chiming voice subdued. "They choose not to attend in person." Before Jake could ask more, the air in the center of the chamber shimmered, and a holographic figure appeared, ghostly, translucent, and ancient beyond measure. The being was vaguely humanoid but wrong in subtle ways. Too many joints in its limbs, eyes that seemed to look through rather than at things, and an aura of age that made even the billion-year-old species in the room seem young. "I am Keeper Nim of the Eldest," the figure said, its voice resonating directly in their minds rather than through sound. "We welcome humanity to the community of star-faring species." Jake felt relief wash over him, but it died quickly when Nim continued. "However, the Eldest will not maintain embassies on Earth. We will not conduct trade in your system, and we strongly advise all species to approach human space with extreme caution." The chamber erupted in confused murmurs and protests. Jake felt his stomach drop, and Lisa's hand tightened on her tablet. "Keeper Nim," Jake said, stepping forward despite Ben's warning hand on his shoulder. "May I ask why?" The ancient being's eyes fixed on him, and Jake felt like he was being examined at a level deeper than physical. "You are not alone on your world," Nim said simply. "You never have been." The hologram flickered and vanished before Jake could respond. Leaving the chamber in chaos, Speaker Vorth raised his crystalline arms. "Calling for order. The Eldest are known for their caution," he said diplomatically. Many species dismiss their warnings as superstition from a dying civilization, but Jake noticed that 3 other delegations, all representing ancient species, had begun quietly gathering their things and leaving the chamber over the next hours. Jake went through the motions of formal introductions and diplomatic pleasantries, but his mind kept returning to Nim's words. Lisa was already working her contacts, accessing the Council's public archives through the station's network that evening. Back in their assigned quarters, she presented her findings. "There are references," she said, spreading holographic documents across the room. "Old warnings in the archives. Survey ships that went missing near Earth thousands of years ago. And this phrase that keeps appearing, 'The Guardians still watch.'" Ben frowned. Studying the documents, "Who are the Guardians?" he asked. "No one knows," Lisa replied. "Or if they do, they're not talking. Every reference is vague. Like the writers were afraid to say too much." Jake sat down heavily, exhaustion and confusion weighing on him. "We need to contact Earth," he said. "Get our researchers on this, if something else lives on our planet. We need to know what it is." He stood to draft a message to Earth's government when he noticed something on his desk that hadn't been there before. A small data crystal, unmarked and glowing with a soft amber light. "Ben," Jake called, his voice tight. "Did you put this here?" The commander moved immediately, hand on his weapon. "No, sir," Ben said. The room was sealed. No one should have been able to enter. Jake picked up the crystal carefully, examining it from all angles. "Should we scan it first?" Lisa asked nervously. Jake shook his head. "If someone went to this much trouble to get it to us, I doubt they want to harm us," he said. Though his hand trembled slightly as he activated the crystal, a hologram sprang to life, and a voice filled the room, ancient, speaking in a language Jake didn't recognize, but somehow understood. The words were Sumerian, one of Earth's oldest languages, and the crystal systems were translating directly into his mind. "They are right to be afraid," the voice said. The hologram flickered, and the language changed to ancient Egyptian, then Sanskrit, then languages Jake had never heard. But each time the message was the same. "We have always been here. We've always protected you." The final message came in modern English, the voice now clear and unmistakably human, though with an accent from no region Jake could place. "But now you travel the stars, and they will learn what you truly are," the voice said. "They will learn why we chose you, why we have guarded you for so long. And they will understand why even the eldest fear to walk on your world." The hologram died, leaving them in silence. Lisa's face was pale. "What does that mean?" she whispered. "What are we?" Jake looked at the dark crystal in his hand, then at the stars visible through their window, somewhere out there. The galaxy's oldest species had just declared they were afraid of humanity, or rather, afraid of what protected humanity. "I don't know," Jake said quietly, "but I think we're about to find out." Ben moved to the window, his soldier's instincts on high alert. "The question isn't what we are," he said grimly. "The question is, what have we been living with all this time without knowing it?" Jake activated his communicator, opening an encrypted channel to Earth. "This is Ambassador Morrison," he said. "Priority Alpha, we have a situation." As he began explaining what had happened, he couldn't shake the feeling that somewhere, someone or something was watching him, had always been watching, and was waiting to see what humanity would do next. The crystal on his desk pulsed once more with amber light, then went dark forever, its message delivered outside their window. A ship passed by the station, nothing unusual. Just another vessel in the busy space lanes. But for just a moment, Jake could have sworn he saw a figure standing at one of its windows. Human-like, but somehow wrong, watching their quarters with eyes that had seen the rise and fall of civilizations. Then it was gone, and Jake was left wondering if he had imagined it, or if the Guardians had just made themselves known. Dr. Kate Sullivan received the encrypted transmission at 3 in the morning, and by 4, she had assembled her team in the secure laboratory beneath the Xenarchaeology Institute. The message from Ambassador Morrison was clear. Something protected humanity, and they needed to find out what she looked at her small team. Dr. Greg Foster, a linguist who specialized in dead languages, and Commander Amy Chun, on loan from military intelligence. The message used Sumerian, Egyptian, and Sanskrit, Kate said, playing the holographic recording Jake had sent. Languages separated by thousands of years and thousands of miles. Yet whoever sent this knew all of them perfectly. Greg leaned forward, his eyes bright with excitement. "That's not even the strangest part," he said, pointing to the waveform analysis. "The voice, it's speaking these languages with native pronunciation. No accent bleed from one to another, whoever this is. They didn't just learn these languages. They lived them." Amy pulled up a star map, marking Earth's position and the locations where alien ships had disappeared or turned back. "I've been going through military intelligence files," she said. 20 years ago, when we first made contact, several alien scout ships approached our solar system. None of them made it past Saturn." Kate frowned. "They were destroyed?" She asked. "No," Amy replied, her voice troubled. "They turned back their logs. The ones we managed to recover through intelligence channels show pure Terra 1 Captain wrote, detected energy signatures inconsistent with human technology, recommend immediate withdrawal." She pulled up another log entry, and they all read it in silence. "They're not human. Some of them aren't human." Greg stood and began pacing, his mind clearly racing. "Let me run a theory past you," he said. "What if humanity has been protected for a very long time? What if every time we should have gone extinct, we didn't, and not because we got lucky?" Kate pulled up historical records on the main screen. "The Toba supervolcano eruption," she said, reading from the data. 75,000 years ago, it should have killed us all. The genetic bottleneck shows human population dropped to maybe 10,000 individuals worldwide. "But we survived," Greg said, "against odds that should have been impossible." Amy added more data to the screen. "The Black Death in the 14th century," she said, "killed 30 to 60% of Europe's population. Then it just stopped. No medical breakthrough, no environmental change. It just stopped spreading in certain regions with no explanation." Kate felt a chill run down her spine as she pulled up another file. "The Tunguska event in 1908, she said quietly. "Something exploded over Siberia with the force of a nuclear weapon, flattened 2,000 square kilometers of forest, but there was a village nearby, and it was completely untouched, not even broken windows. They worked through the night, finding pattern after pattern. Disasters that should have destroyed humanity but didn't. Unexplained survivals and gaps in the historical record that made no sense as dawn broke." Greg made a discovery that changed everything. "I've been going through ancient texts," he said, his voice shaking slightly. "Sumerian tablets, Egyptian papyri, Sanskrit verses, they all mention watchers." He projected images on the screen, crude drawings and careful hieroglyphs, all showing the same thing, human-like figures standing apart from normal humans, watching, protecting. The Sumerians called them the ones who remain. Greg said, "The Egyptian knew them as the endless guardians, and in Sanskrit they're Rakshaka, which means protector." Kate read through the translations, her heart pounding. "These aren't gods or myths," she said. "These texts describe them as real beings who look human but aren't, who speak all languages, who appear during disasters and guide people to safety, then vanish." Amy had been working her intelligence network, and now she pulled up modern reports. "They're still being reported," she said grimly. "Ship logs, war diaries, survivor testimonies across centuries, across continents. The same description. Human-like figures who move differently, who know things they shouldn't, who appear when humans are in danger, She played a video from a naval disaster in the North Atlantic, recorded 10 years earlier. The quality was poor, but it showed a figure pulling survivors from the water with impossible strength, moving through the freezing ocean without any visible struggle. The survivors all reported the same thing, Amy said. The rescuer spoke to each of them in their native language, knew their names without asking, and disappeared before the rescue ships arrived. Kate felt like the world was shifting beneath her feet. These guardians, she said slowly, they've been protecting us for millennia, and no one knows who they are or why they're doing this. Greg pulled up a communication file. Ambassador Morrison managed to get a private channel to keep her Nim, he said. The eldest agreed to talk to him, and what Nim said, it's terrifying. He played the audio recording, and they listened to the ancient being's story. 4 million years ago, the eldest had found Earth, detected something else on the planet. Something powerful. We attempted contact, Nim's voice echoed in the lab. 3 of our science vessels approached. They simply disappeared. No wreckage, no distress signals. Nothing. The recording continued. Then we received a message. This world is protected, leave, and never return. We left. And we have never forgotten. Amy cross-referenced the data. Every species that's tried to harm Earth or exploit humanity has vanished, she said, showing incident reports spanning thousands of years. The galactic community doesn't talk about it, but the pattern is there. Approach Earth with hostile intent, and you disappear. Kate sat down heavily, trying to process what they had learned. So we're not special because of what we are, she said. We're special because something incredibly powerful has decided we're worth protecting. But why? Greg asked. Why would beings this advanced care about us? Before anyone could answer, the laboratory's security system chimed. Someone was at the door. Requesting entry, Amy checked the monitors and frowned. There's a man outside, she said. He says his name is Peter Grant, and he's here to see Dr. Sullivan. Kate didn't recognize the name. Did he say what he wants? She asked. He says he's a historian, Amy replied, and that you'd want to talk to him about the Guardians. Kate felt her blood run cold. They hadn't mentioned the Guardians to anyone outside the team. She stood and moved toward the door, with Greg and Amy flanking her. The man who entered was unremarkable. Average height, brown hair going gray at the temples. A kind face with smile lines around his eyes. He could have been anyone's uncle or college professor. Dr. Sullivan, he said warmly, extending his hand. Thank you for seeing me. Kate didn't take his hand. Instead, she spoke to him in ancient Sumerian, a phrase from the text they had been studying. Who watches the watchers? For just a moment, something flickered in the man's eyes, something old and knowing, and not quite human. He answered in flawless Sumerian, his pronunciation perfect. We watch ourselves, as we have always done. Amy's hand moved to her weapon, and Greg stepped back. Kate felt her heart hammering in her chest. The man Peter, if that was even his real name, didn't seem concerned by Amy's weapon. Please, he said, switching back to English. I'm not here to harm you, in fact. I'm here because you're very close to understanding something important. And you deserve to hear the truth from one of us rather than piecing it together from fragments. One of us? Kate asked, her voice steady despite her fear. Peter smiled. And it was a sad, ancient expression. One of the Guardians, he said simply. And Dr. Sullivan? We really do need to talk about what happens now that humanity has joined the galactic community. The rules are about to change, and you need to be prepared. He looked at Amy's weapon and then directly into her eyes. You can shoot me if it makes you feel safer, he said calmly. But I promise you, it won't stop me, and it won't change the conversation we need to have. Kate made a decision. She gestured to Amy to lower her weapon. Talk, Kate said. Tell us who you are and why you've been protecting us. Peter moved to the center of the lab. looking at all the research they had compiled. "We've been protecting humanity for 4 million years," he said quietly. "And yes, Dr. Sullivan, I personally have been here that entire time. I've watched your species grow from simple tool users to the starfaring civilization you are now." "Why?" Greg asked. The question bursting from him. Peter turned to face them, and in his eyes they saw something that made them understand why even the eldest feared these beings. "Because once, long ago, we failed to protect a species that mattered," Peter said. "And we vowed never to fail again when we found humanity. We saw a second chance, and we took it." Kate felt tears prick her eyes, though she didn't fully understand why. "What happens now?" she asked. Peter's expression grew grave. "Now the galaxy knows you're protected," he said. "And soon they'll learn the cost of what we've done to keep you safe. Then they'll have to decide, accept you, or try to eliminate both you and us." He moved toward the door, then paused. "Prepare yourselves," he said. "A crisis is coming. One that will test whether humanity deserves the protection we've given." And Dr. Sullivan, "Commander Chun, Dr. Foster, what you choose will determine not just humanity's future, but the future of the entire galaxy." Then he was gone, leaving them with more questions than answers, and the terrifying knowledge that Earth's protectors were watching, waiting and hoping humanity wouldn't disappoint them. Peter returned the next day, walking into the secure laboratory as if walls and locked doors meant nothing to him. Kate had expected this somehow, and she had prepared questions, hundreds of them. "Before we begin," Peter said, settling into a chair with the ease of someone completely comfortable in any situation, "I need you to understand something. Everything I tell you today is the truth, but it's a truth that will change how you see your species and your place in the galaxy." Jake Morrison had arrived from the station overnight, and he sat across from Peter with Lisa and Commander Ben Hayes. "We're ready," Jake said firmly. Peter nodded and began. "My people call ourselves the Prythings," he said. "Though that name is so old that the language it comes from died 1 billion years before your species existed. We are what the galaxy calls the Guardians. And yes, we have been protecting humanity for 4 million years." Greg pulled up a holographic timeline. "Why 4 million years?" he asked. "That's when early hominids were just beginning to use tools." "Because that's when we found you," Peter replied. "And that's when we made our choice." He stood and walked to the window, looking out at the city beyond. 1 billion years ago, the Prythings were conquerors, he said quietly. "We had technology you can't imagine, power that could reshape worlds. We believed we were the pinnacle of evolution, the rightful rulers of the galaxy." His voice grew heavy with old grief. "We destroyed species that opposed us, enslaved those that surrendered, and convinced ourselves we were bringing order to chaos. We were monsters, though we called ourselves saviors." Kate watched him, seeing the weight of ancient guilt in every line of his body. "What changed?" she asked softly. "We encountered a species we couldn't conquer," Peter said. "They weren't more advanced than us. They were actually more primitive, barely spacefaring, but they had something we had lost: compassion, creativity, irrational hope." He turned back to face them. "When our fleets came to their world, they didn't fight at first. They tried to understand us, tried to communicate, tried to find common ground, and when we attacked anyway, they fought with a ferocity born of protecting their families, their homes, their future." Peter's eyes grew distant. "Remembering, we won that war," he said. "We always won. But as our soldiers walked through the ruins of their cities, something broke in us. We found schools where children had been learning art and music, hospitals where they had been healing their sick, monuments they had built to hope and love, and all the things we had forgotten mattered." Greg leaned forward. "What happened to them?" he asked. "We killed them all," Peter said bluntly. "Every last one. And when it was over, when we stood victorious over the ashes of their civilization, We realized we had destroyed something beautiful and irreplaceable, something that made the galaxy worth living in. The room was silent, except for the hum of equipment. The Prythenes fell apart after that. Peter continued. Some of us couldn't live with what we had done and simply ended themselves. Others fled to the edges of the galaxy to hide from the memory, but a few of us decided to find redemption. You became the Guardians, Kate said. Yes, Peter confirmed. We vowed that never again would we allow power to corrupt us, that we would use our strength only to protect, never to conquer. We searched the galaxy for species that reminded us of the ones we had destroyed. Species worth saving. He looked directly at Jake. For millions of years, we found nothing species that were too warlike, too cruel, too indifferent. Then, 4 million years ago, we came to Earth. Peter projected a hologram showing early humans huddled around a fire. You were nothing then, he said. Barely more than clever apes. Any other species would have passed you by as unimportant. But we watched you, and we saw something familiar. The hologram showed humans caring for an injured member of their tribe, sharing food when it was scarce, protecting children at the cost of their own safety. You had what they had, Peter said, his voice thick with emotion. That same fierce love for family, that same stubborn belief that tomorrow could be better than today, that same willingness to sacrifice everything for those you cared about. Lisa wiped tears from her eyes. So you decided to protect us, she said. We decided you were our second chance, Peter corrected. The species we failed to save was gone forever. But maybe we could make sure you survived long enough to reach the stars. Commander Ben spoke up, his voice hard. Ambassador Morrison said, You've eliminated 14 species that threatened Earth, he said. What does eliminated mean? Peter met his gaze without flinching. It means exactly what you think it means, he said. Complete extinction. Every ship, every colony, every trace of their civilization erased from existence. The room went cold. They came to your world with weapons and plans for conquest or exploitation. Peter continued. They saw primitive humans as resources to be used. We saw them as threats to be removed. Amy stood abruptly. You committed genocide, she said, her voice shaking. 14 times. Yes, Peter said simply. And I would do it again. Every species we eliminated had chosen to be conquerors, to be destroyers. They made their choice, and we made ours. Kate felt sick, but also strangely safe, knowing that something this powerful had decided humanity was worth such terrible protection. The galaxy doesn't know this, she said. They just know that species that go to Earth don't come back. And now you've joined the galactic community, Peter said. And they're going to find out. They're going to discover what we are, what we've done. And they're going to be afraid. Jake leaned back in his chair. How afraid? He asked. Afraid enough to unite against us, Peter replied. The Guardians number perhaps 10,000 across the entire galaxy. We're individually powerful, ancient, and we have technology that makes us seem like gods, but we're not invincible. He pulled up a star map showing the major galactic powers. If the entire galaxy united against us, the war would last centuries and destroy everything, he said. Worlds would burn. Species would go extinct, and in the end, probably everyone would lose. Greg stood and moved to the map. So what do we do? He asked. How do we prevent that war? Peter turned to face them all. You prove that you're worth protecting, he said. Not to us, we already believe in you, but to the galaxy. They need to see that humanity offers something valuable, something that makes the galaxy better. How? Kate asked. Peter's expression grew serious. There's a crisis coming, he said. The Rex Dominion is planning to invade the Lyran Confederacy. The Lyran are peaceful, weak militarily, and the Vrex see them as easy conquests. He pulled up information about both species. The Lyran will be destroyed unless someone helps them, Peter said. And here's your chance. Help them. Not for territory or resources or political advantage. Help them because it's the right thing to do. Jake stood. You want us to go to war? He asked incredulously. We have 5 ships. The wrecks have hundreds. I want you to show the galaxy who humanity is, Peter replied. I want you to demonstrate the compassion and courage that made us choose to protect you in the first place. Commander Ben shook his head. This is suicide, he said. Maybe, Peter admitted. But it's also the only way forward if you don't help the Lyran. The galaxy will see you as just another self-interested species. And they'll wonder why we protect you if you do help them, win or lose. You'll show everyone what makes humanity special. Kate understood now. This is a test, she said. For us and for you. Everything is a test, Peter replied. We've been testing ourselves for 1 billion years, making sure we never become what we were, and now it's your turn to be tested. He moved toward the door again. The Vrex fleet will reach Lyran space in 3 days, he said. You need to decide quickly. Stay safe and prove nothing. Or risk everything and show the galaxy that humanity deserves to be here. Jake called after him. Will you help us fight? He asked. Peter paused. No, he said. This has to be your choice and your action. We'll give you perfect intelligence on the Vrex. But we won't fight your battles. We've protected you while you grew. But you're strong enough now to protect others. And if we fail? Lisa asked quietly. Peter looked at her with ancient, sad eyes. If you fail and die trying to help others, you'll have proven everything we believe about you, he said. If you fail because you chose cruelty or cowardice, then we'll know we were wrong and we'll leave you to face the galaxy alone. He stepped through the door, then turned back one last time. Dr. Sullivan asked earlier what happens now, he said. Here's your answer. Now you get to decide what kind of species humanity will be. The kind that's worth protecting, or the kind that deserves to stand alone. Then he was truly gone, leaving them with an impossible choice. Risk everything to save strangers, or play it safe and lose the protection that had kept humanity alive for 4 million years. Kate looked at the others. 3 days, she said. We have 3 days to convince Earth's government to send our fleet to war for people we've never met. Jake activated his communicator. Then we better start now, he said. Because Peter's right, this is who we are. And it's time the galaxy knew it, outside and the street below. Peter walked among humans who had no idea what protected them. He watched them going about their lives, working, laughing, helping each other, being human, and he hoped, as he had hoped for 4 million years, that they would choose the path that led to the stars rather than the path that led to ashes. The test was beginning, and the galaxy was watching. The emergency session of Earth's unified government lasted 18 hours, and the debate was fiercer than any war. Jake stood before the council chamber, exhausted but determined, making his case for the 3rd time. The Lyran Confederacy will fall in 48 hours, he said, his voice hoarse. They have no military capable of stopping the Vrex. Their entire civilization will be enslaved or destroyed unless someone helps them. Council Chairman Victor Hayes leaned forward. And you want us to send our entire fleet to fight a war that isn't ours? He asked. Ambassador Morrison, we have 5 ships. The Vrex have over 50 in that battle group alone. I know the odds, Jake replied. But this isn't about winning a war. It's about showing the galaxy who we are. A counselor from the Eastern Alliance stood. What do we gain from this? She demanded. The Lyran have nothing we need, no strategic resources. No territory we want. No technology we don't already have. Kate stood beside Jake. We gain nothing material, she said firmly. We do this because it's right. Because the Lyran are people who deserve to live, and because if we turn away now, We prove that humanity is just another selfish species. The debate raged on, with some arguing for neutrality, others insisting they needed something in return, and a vocal minority demanding they help regardless of cost. Finally, Admiral Susan Wright stood in the military section. She was a decorated officer, respected by everyone in the chamber. "I studied every battle in human history where we were outnumbered," she said, her voice cutting through the arguments. "Thermopylae, the Alamo, Dunkirk, we don't always win, but we always fight for something bigger than ourselves." She looked around the chamber. "My fleet is ready to deploy," she continued. 5 ships, 1,500 crew members. All volunteers who believe this is what humanity should do. I'm not asking for permission to fight. I'm asking for the support to do what's right. The vote was close. Painfully close, but it passed. Earth's fleet would go to Lyran. Space Admiral Wright moved quickly. Within 6 hours, her 5 ships were departing from Earth orbit, the Uns Defiant. Her flagship, along with the Courage, the Mercy, the Hope, and the Unity. Lisa Park accompanied the fleet as a journalist, determined to document what might be humanity's finest or final hour before departure. Peter appeared one last time on Wright's ship. He brought the intelligence he had promised, complete tactical data on Vrex formations, command structures, and weaknesses. "They're arrogant," Peter said, showing Wright the battle plans. "The Vrex have won so many easy victories that they've forgotten how to fight a determined enemy." Used that Wright studied the data. "You're not coming with us," she stated. "No," Peter confirmed. "This has to be purely human. The galaxy needs to see what you can do without our help." He turned to leave, then paused. "Admiral," he said quietly, "win or lose, make sure they remember this. Make sure the galaxy understands that humans fight for others, not just for themselves." The journey to Lyran space took 36 hours at maximum speed. During that time, Lisa interviewed the crews, and what she found both broke her heart and filled her with pride. Young pilot Chris Palmer, barely 23, told her, "My grandfather fought in the War of 2031. He always said the measure of a person is what they do when no one's watching and when it costs them everything. This is our measure." Engineer Sarah Kim, working in the bowels of the Defiant, said, "I have 2 kids back home. I'm here because I want them to grow up in a galaxy where helping others matters more than helping yourself." Commander Amy Chun, who had joined the fleet, put it simply, "This is who we are. This is who we've always been. We just finally have a chance to show it to the stars." They arrived at Lyran Prime to find horror. The Vrex fleet was in orbit, bombarding the surface with plasma weapons. Cities were burning. The Lyran defense fleet was scattered and retreating, and thousands were dying every minute. Admiral Wright opened a communication channel to the Vrex flagship Warmaster. Krell's face appeared on screen, a reptilian creature with cold eyes and a cruel smile. "Human vessel," Krell said with amusement. "You have wandered into a military operation. Depart immediately or be destroyed." Wright's response was calm and measured. "Warmaster Krell, I am Admiral Susan Wright of the United Earth Fleet," she said. "I am ordering you to cease your attack on the Lyran and withdraw from this system." Krell's laughter echoed through the bridge. "You order me?" he said incredulously. "You have 5 ships. I have 53. Surrender now, and I will kill you quickly as a courtesy." Wright smiled, and it was not a friendly expression. "You have 53 ships," she said. "We have 5 and Warmaster. That's all we need. Last chance. Withdraw or face the consequences." Krell cut the transmission and ordered his fleet to engage. What followed became known across the galaxy as the Battle of Lyran Prime, and military academies would study it for generations. Wright's strategy was brilliant and brutal. Human ships were smaller and faster than Vrex vessels, and she used that advantage ruthlessly. The Defiant and Unity performed hit-and-run attacks on Rex command ships, targeting their communication arrays and creating chaos in their formations. Without clear commands, the Rex fleet's coordination collapsed into confusion. The Courage and Hope executed a maneuver that became legendary. They dove into the atmosphere of Lyran Prime, using the planet's gravity and their superior maneuvering to destroy 3 Rex carriers that were too large and slow to follow. Meanwhile, Commander Amy Chun led a boarding party onto a Rex flagship, using tactics that seemed insane to any other species, crawling through damaged hull sections, fighting in zero gravity, enduring radiation that would kill most aliens. Her team captured the ship's tactical database. She broadcast the Rex battle plans to the surviving Lyran forces, who rallied and counterattacked with New Hope. Chris Palmer's fighter squadron performed a maneuver that other species deemed impossible. A high-gravity turn through Lyran Prime's upper atmosphere that subjected them to forces that would kill most aliens, but humans, from Earth's heavy gravity, survived and used the momentum to destroy a Rex troop transport. The battle raged for 14 hours, and the cost was terrible. The Unity was destroyed when it rammed a Rex dreadnought to save a Lyran hospital ship. All hands lost. Hope took catastrophic damage, protecting civilian evacuation transports, and barely limped away from the fight. The Courage's engineering section was hit, killing 42 crew members, including Sarah Kim, who died keeping the engines running so others could escape. But the humans never stopped, never surrendered, never even considered retreating. Warmter Krull found himself facing something he had never encountered, an enemy that would die rather than yield, that cared more about protecting innocents than about their own survival. When 3 human ships were crippled and drifting, Krull ordered his fleet to finish them. But Admiral Wright revealed her final strategy. The damaged ships weren't helpless. They were weapons. Skeleton crews had volunteered to pilot them on collision courses with Rex troop transports, sacrificing themselves to save Lyran civilians. Krull watched in disbelief as human vessels, burning and broken, still fought with their last strength. He opened a channel to Wright. "What are you?" he demanded, and for the first time, there was fear in his voice. "What kind of species fights like this?" Wright's face was streaked with smoke and blood, her uniform torn, but her eyes were steady. "We're human," she said simply. "We fight for those who can't fight for themselves. And we never stop withdraw now, War Master. Or we will make you pay for every meter of space, every second of time, until none of us are left." Krull looked at his tactical display. He was winning. He had more ships, more weapons, more everything. But the cost of victory was rising with every minute. And these humans showed no sign of stopping. He made his decision. The Rex fleet withdrew. The galaxy watched in stunned silence as 50 Rex warships retreated from 5 human vessels. The Lyran were saved. Their world still burned, but their people survived. Admiral Wright's fleet limped into Lyran orbit, and the cost became clear. 2 ships destroyed, 3 crippled beyond immediate repair, 643 crew members dead, and another 200 wounded. But they had won, not because they were stronger or more advanced, but because they refused to let innocent people die while they did nothing. Lisa broadcast her recordings to Earth and to the Galactic Council, showing the world what humans had done, not for profit, not for territory, not for power, but because it was right. The Lyran government sent a message that was broadcast across the galaxy. Today, a species we had never met came to our aid when we faced extinction. They asked nothing in return. They gained nothing material, and they lost much. They fought not because they hated our enemies, but because they loved strangers enough to die for them. This is what humanity is, and the galaxy is better for their presence. As Admiral Wright sat in her damaged command chair, receiving damage reports and casualty lists, Peter's final words echoed in her mind. Make sure they remember this. The galaxy would remember the day humanity showed them what compassion and courage truly meant, and somewhere in the darkness of space, the Guardians watched their chosen species with pride, knowing that after 4 million years, humanity had finally proven why they were worth protecting all along. 3 weeks after the Battle of Lyran Prime, Ambassador Jake Morrison returned to Cavrish Prime Station, and everything was different. The council chamber that had been half empty before was now packed with every species in the galactic community. Speaker Vorth greeted him at the entrance, his crystalline form glowing brighter than before. "Ambassador Morrison," he said warmly, "the council has been waiting for you." But it was the presence in the chamber that took Jake's breath away. The eldest were there, not as holograms, but in person. Wearing environmental suits that hummed with ancient technology, Keeper Nim stood at the center of the chamber, his actual form visible through the transparent suit. Fragile, ancient, but undeniably present humanity, Nim began, his mental voice reaching every being in the chamber. "We have lived for millions of years. We have seen the rise and fall of empires that span galaxies. We have witnessed wonders and horrors beyond counting." He paused, and Jake could feel the weight of those endless years. "But in all our existence," Nim continued, "we have never witnessed what your species did at Lyran Prime. You had everything to lose and nothing to gain. Yet you fought for strangers as if they were your own families." The chamber was absolutely silent. "We understand now," Nim said, looking directly at Jake. "We understand why the Guardians protect you. Why they have eliminated threats to your world. Why they fear what would happen if you were destroyed." He gestured to the other ancient species present. "For we see in you what we all lost long ago. The ability to care more about others than about ourselves. The courage to sacrifice for those who cannot repay us. The stubborn belief that the galaxy can be better if we choose to make it so." A holographic display appeared, showing the vote tally. "The Galactic Council has voted," Vorth announced. "Humanity is granted full membership with all rights and privileges. Furthermore, trade restrictions are lifted, and 6 of the eldest civilizations, including my own Calithian Empire, formally established diplomatic and economic relations with Earth." The chamber erupted in what Jake assumed was applause, though it sounded like 1,000 different instruments playing at once. But Nim raised a hand for silence. "There is more," he said. "We wish to address the matter of the Guardians." Jake felt his heart skip. This was the moment everything could fall apart. "We know who they are," Nim said. "We know what they were, and we know what they have done to protect humanity. The Prytheans were once conquerors who nearly destroyed the galaxy. The Guardians are what they became after choosing redemption over extinction." Murmurs spread through the chamber. Clearly not everyone had known this. "They have eliminated 14 species to protect Earth," Nim continued. "Complete extinction as punishment for threatening humanity. This would normally be considered an unforgivable crime." Jake opened his mouth to defend the Guardians, but Nim held up a hand. "However," the ancient being said, "every species they eliminated had chosen conquest over coexistence, destruction over creation. They removed cancers from the galactic body, and in doing so, they protected not just humanity, but the fundamental principle that peaceful species should not live in fear of predators." Another display appeared, showing a formal declaration. The eldest moved that the Galactic Council officially recognized the Guardians as a legitimate protective force, Name announced, and that humanity's protected status be acknowledged and respected by all member species. The vote was not unanimous. Some species still feared the Guardians. Others resented humanity's special treatment, but the majority voted in favor. Earth was protected, officially and publicly, and the Guardians were recognized rather than feared after the session. Jake found Peter waiting in his quarters. "You knew this would happen," Jake said. "I hoped," Peter corrected. But I didn't know. The galaxy had to see humanity's true nature before they could accept what we've done to protect it. What happens now?" Jake asked. Peter smiled, and for the first time, it was a smile without sadness. "Now we step back," he said. "You don't need us anymore. You never really did. We protected you while you were vulnerable. But you're strong enough now to protect yourselves and others. You're leaving?" Jake felt an unexpected surge of loss. "Not leaving," Peter said gently. "Just stepping into the shadows. We'll always watch. Always care. But from now on, we're observers. Not guardians. If you truly need us, we'll be there. But Jake, I don't think you will." He pulled out a data crystal, similar to the one he had left before. "This contains our complete history," he said. "Everything the Prytheans were, everything the Guardians became. It's yours now. Humanity's to learn from." Jake took the crystal carefully. "Why?" he asked. "Why tell us everything?" "Because secrets create distance," Peter replied. "And you deserve to know the truth about those who protected you. You deserve to understand that even species who commit terrible crimes can choose to become better. That's a lesson the galaxy needs. And humanity is the perfect teacher." He moved toward the door. "Before you go," Jake said, "I need to know. What made you choose us? 4 million years ago, what did you see in primitive humans that made you decide we were worth saving?" Peter turned back, his ancient eyes filled with memory. "I watched a human family, barely more than apes, huddled in a cave during a storm," he said. "The father had been injured hunting, and he couldn't move. The mother could have left him and saved herself and the children. And survival said she should, but she didn't," Jake guessed. "She didn't," Peter confirmed. "She stayed, kept him warm through the night, shared the little food they had. She chose love over survival, hope over logic. And when I saw that, I knew you were like the species we had destroyed, the ones who had shown us compassion we didn't deserve." Tears ran down Jake's face. "We won't let you down," he said. "You already haven't," Peter replied. And then he was gone back on Earth. Dr. Kate Sullivan was appointed director of the Institute for Interspecies Understanding, where humans and aliens studied together, learning to see each other not as strangers, but as potential friends. Commander Amy Chun formed the Galactic Peacekeeping Initiative, a volunteer force with members from 20 species, including remarkably former Vrex soldiers who had witnessed the Battle of Lyran Prime and decided they wanted to fight for something better than conquest. Admiral Susan Wright became Earth's ambassador at large, traveling the galaxy not with weapons, but with the story of what humanity had done and why it mattered. Lisa Park's documentary about the Battle of Lyran Prime was watched by trillions across the galaxy, and it changed hearts and minds. 3 regional wars ended through negotiation, with mediators citing the human example. The Lyran established the closest alliance with Earth, and their first official act was to create a memorial on Lyran Prime, 643 pillars of light, one for each human who had died protecting their world. Young Chris Palmer, promoted to squadron commander, trained new pilots from a dozen species, teaching them not just tactics but philosophy. "We're not strong because we have better ships or weapons," he would say. "We're strong because we fight for something bigger than ourselves." That's the lesson humanity learned over millions of years, and now we share it with the stars. 5 years after the Battle of Lyran Prime, Jake stood at the window of Earth's orbital station, watching ships from across the galaxy come and go. Trade vessels, diplomatic shuttles, research ships, all moving in peaceful cooperation. Kate joined him, carrying a cup of coffee for each of them. "Do you ever wonder where they are?" she asked. "The Guardians?" Jake smiled. "They're watching," he said. "They're always watching, but now they're watching friends succeed, not children who need protection." "Do you think we'll ever see Peter again?" Kate wondered. Before Jake could answer, a ship passed by the station, nothing unusual, Just another vessel in the busy space lanes, but for just a moment. Jake saw a figure standing at one of its windows. The figure was human-like, but moved with a grace no human possessed. And when it turned to look at the station, Jake could have sworn it smiled. Then it was gone. "Yes," Jake said quietly. "I think we'll see them again, but only when we need them. Or when they want to check on old friends on Earth." In schools across the planet, and on human colonies spreading through the stars, children learned about the Guardians, about the Battle of Lyran Prime, about the choice humanity made to help others, even when it cost them dearly. In one classroom, a teacher asked her students, "What makes humanity special?" A young girl raised her hand. "We're not the strongest," she said. "We're not the smartest. We're not the oldest, but we're the species that cares, even when it's hard, even when it costs us. And that's not because the Guardians made us that way. It's because we chose to be that way." The teacher smiled. "And now?" she asked. "Now we teach the galaxy that strength without compassion is just tyranny," the girl replied. "And technology without heart is just a tool. We show them that the best species aren't the ones who conquer, but the ones who help somewhere in the darkness between stars." A figure stood alone on the bridge of an ancient ship. Peter, last of the Prytheans, first of the Guardians, watched humanity spreading through the galaxy like a light pushing back the darkness. "We did it," he whispered to the ghosts of the species his people had destroyed so long ago. "We found them, we protected them, and they became everything we hoped they would be. They became the redemption we sought for 1 billion years." He thought of the Cho,